Last time we have started this candle. We saw already the first few lines. We quickly run through them again. All is truly that the world can give. That's a very big commentary. All the kinds of things which we have. The knowledge, the power, the capacity, the love, the beauty, the joy, all whatever you want to call is too small, too powerful, too big. There are ranges and ranges beyond. You don't even see them. If you see them, you don't even attempt to climb them when they are there. Now this is all in the context of Ashtapadi. Having already seen the transcendental manifestation. Not only the cosmic, but even as if the transcendental manifestation is something which cannot give, it does not give what we should really give. That is what it means. See, we have got everything today, internet, you ask what is about for us. Our lights can reach big heights in the skies, go to Mars, go there. In the Ramayana, there is a very beautiful description of 7 kinds of birds. Sparrows, little birds, they say they will fly only at this side. Parrots will fly at this side. Other birds will fly at this side. The eagle will fly at the topmost height. 7 types of birds. Eagle is the highest height. Now, of course, our satellites can go even far beyond the flight of eagle. Yet, all this is too big. We have no idea at all the kind of ranges, the kind of possibilities which can come within manifestation. So we open out, we take a new dimension as speaking all historically that the world can give. His power and knowledge and gifts of time. Even they come, they are here today, the glory of tomorrow. All the great achievements in the past ages, they have disappeared. Something new has come all right, but then they are seated into the past. And cannot fill the Spirit's sacred soul. The Spirit's sacred first. That is the most important. The Spirit is longing for something which is beyond all this manifestation. This manifestation is not sufficient for it. It knows, it has a kind of intuition, idea, feeling that there are still things beyond. What does that mean? Sacred, something very pure, something holy, something desirable, something auspicious. It is that which must come into manifestation. That must get expressed itself here to this world in our life, in every activity. That is secret word of the Spirit itself. Secret word. It will not come directly, but it will go working outside. In other words, the Spirit is here not only to express and promote things which are already present here, but also to bring into manifestation things which are not yet present, which are only potential. It is only present in the absolute. It is those things from the absolute, they must come here into expression. That is the sacred thirst of the spirit. Yes, all these wonderful theories, etc., beautiful words, but think the infinite is really infinite, more and more infinite. What about them coming into the play here? That is the sacred thirst of the spirit. And because little that the world can give, this forms the greatness. That is what the world has given. That is what the world has given. And these forms of greatness are certainly the expressions of the one. He is more than many. He is in all, yet more than one, more than many. And by its breath, by the breath of the one, of grace, our lives are by obviously we are here because of it. Although more near to us than nearness of self, what is very close to us, even beyond that is things. It is some utter truth of what we are against that one. The utter truth of what we are obviously. Now, although more near to us than nearness, in the Isha Upanishad, it is very beautiful description. That's the way the country is. See, he said, it is slow and slow and slow, yet it is far and far and far. Simultaneously, it is very close to us, yet it is far. Simultaneously. It is nearness, a closeness to prayer, yet it is far. So this is a kind of an echo of the Isha Upanishad. That's the way the Lord is. Near self, it is some attribute of who that we are. Hidden by its own words, is saying far off. It has conceived itself. You want what and conceived it. But certainly has produced something, it has kind of covered up. It is secret. It is an attribute of what we have. Hidden by his own word, it's saying far off. Therefore it is seen. It is not really. Because we are not aware of it, therefore it seems far off. Hey, incorrectly, awful voices of your. See, he is piling up adjective, the four adjectives. One of the beautiful examples of piling up of adjectives. Actually, fact, he's saying far off. Hidden by his own word, he says, actually, five adjectives. Far off, inconnectable, awful, voiceless, obscure. It does not speak. It cannot be connected to. It is offered, kept secret, ruled by his own words. It is offered by his own words. Obscure, as I told last time, obscure does not mean black. It is unknown to us. It is obscure to us. It is not, that one is not obscure. It is obscure to us. The presence is lost, by which all things are lost because it is obscure to us, because it is voices to us, because it is impenetrable to us, because it is far off from us. It is so far off that it cannot lost. The presence is lost, by which all things are. How the presence is lost? By his own words. The presence is lost by his own words. His own words. Whose words is that? Nature. The presence is lost because of power. Prakriti. Executive force. Because of all work, the presence is kept behind. The glory lack of it, they are dead in his family. They all things. All things are dim inside. The world you are made empty of His power. When that is not there, when the presence is not there, we don't know what we are here for, how we are coming, what we thought about this, that we don't know. Empty of His power. Because the presence is lost. Like love, when the village is see, that is the charm of poetry. His presence has lost away all his charm. Okay. Like love, when the village is gone. If you see this line, it has a very high metaphysical content, full of thought ideas. The presence is lost away all his charm. It is full of metaphysics. Because philosophy is present in the statement. One can write essays on this particular line. How nature keeps everything away, how the presence is hidden because of nature. So this is metaphysical, kind of abstract idea, so to speak. Against that, like love, when Buddha's face is gone, it is something very sweet, something charming, something with after music. So in the poetry, you have got a metaphysical statement, you have a lyrical poetic statement. What is in this line as a metaphysical statement? The same thing is here in the lyrical form, in the language of statements. So that is the combination of poetry. It does not go into abstract ideas. It also brings a living breath to poetry. Like love, when the beloved's face is gone. Now, love is capital, beloved is capital. It again shows the purposeful operative dynamism of the power standing in front and the presence standing back. Presence standing back and the power present in front. Purposeful face is gone from the presence. Love stands for presence. Beloved stands for our presence. Like love when the beloved's face is gone. Therefore, capital L, capital T. We never to know, seeing the veins flying of the mind. It is impossible for mind to understand how the presence got lost. It is not by reasoning, by argument, by metaphysics can one come to know it. See, a vain strife of mind. Now, of course, we labor to know, seeing the vain strife of mind. To whom he is telling? To Buddha. Of course, he is not telling it to mind, because mind cannot understand. Mind cannot understand. The labor to know, seeing the vain strife of mind. To whom is the poet telling this? Surely it cannot mind, because mind cannot understand that. So there is no point in telling it to the mind. He is telling it to something else. The cognitive faculties which are there in us, we stand above the mind, beyond the mind. And the possibilities of those cognitive faculties opening to a greater knowledge, it is to them we will study this. You cannot take the mind. There is no point in taking the mind. All knowledge ended in the unknowable. All knowledge ended in the unknowable. This is a stage when we cannot really grasp anything at all. This knowledge is the highest knowledge. Perhaps even the knowledge that comes as to the mind, even that ends into the unknowable. Even that ends into the unknowable. It is not mind. Mind is out of the question. But perhaps even the faculty of knowing things of Satchidananda, that itself stops when it reaches the unknowable. So as I told you, here we have got the cosmic manifestation, then we have got Satchidananda, the transcendent. Therefrom Satchidananda, it comes from beyond it, from the unknowable, the ineffable, the absolute. It is from there, that is the unknowable. It is from there. Means the first manifestation of the unknowable is Satchidananda. He is the first child. Satchidananda is the first child of the unknowable. So, even that knowledge of Satchidananda cannot reach the unknowable. In other words, whatever has come into manifestation, that Satchidananda will know. But what has not yet come into manifestation, of that, nobody can have knowledge. Not even Satchidananda, because it is not there in manifestation. It is a potential. It is kind of held back into the absolute. Then it is held back, nothing can come out. In a way of speaking, it is a terrible black hole. Nothing comes out of it unless it throws something out of it. You can call it black hole, white hole, whatever it is. Nothing can come out of it. Ended in the unknowable. The effort to rule seems to vain pride of will. Obviously, vain strife, vain pride. A trivial achievement, scorned by pride. All power it had, into the omnipotent. At that point, waiting has gone back to the omnipotent. Now, because all power has retired, because nothing can be known, it is a dark. So the whole thing is kind of hidden in the darkness. A cave of darkness casts the eternal light. So this unknowable eternal light is guarded by this cave of darkness. Cave of darkness means all our faculties have ceased to know things, to function. So what can you know about that? When you read that thing, it becomes a darkness. Because you do not know anything, therefore it is a darkness. Cast eternal light. A silent sea on his striving heart. His, suppose Ashoka, the seeker, or the one who is pursuing the unknowable. One is pursuing the unknowable. A silence settled on his striving heart. Absorbed from the voices of the voice of desire. See, now it makes very clear. A silence settled on his striving heart. He is kind of hatred. He does not know how to go from this. He was carrying with him the worst desire. All his odyssey of climbing up all those places, etc. The entire second book was to carry the worst desire to the Supreme. The word desire, 5.1. A worst desire compelled her mortal birth. Savitri's birth was compelled by the world's desire. A world's desire compelled her not to go. It is he who is carrying the world's desire to be ineffable, to be unknowable. And because he is carrying it, it has all the yogic content in it. It is something which must receive a response. It is not something which can be ignored and dismissed. It must receive a response because the yogic force with which he was carrying the world's desire. He turned to the ineffable timeless call. Now, Ishik and that burden with which Ashwapati was moving to the cosmic planes. Is it here that the world's desire can be fulfilled? Is it here that the world's desire can be fulfilled? Is it here that the world's desire can be fulfilled? No. Not even Satchidananda. Beyond. If a true fulfillment is required, should come straight from the Absolute. Now, who can do that? Who is carrying this world's desire? He. Who? It is obviously Ashwapati, of course, to know. Ashwapati, of course, to know. But who is Ashwapati? But who is Ashwapati?
Who is Ashwapati? I think he is Ashwapati.
Who is Ashwapati?
Divine soul, no? He is Sri Aurobindo.
You are in a hurry to say. Yeah, obviously Ashwapati Shivandu, that is okay. It is the Supreme Himself.
Ashwapati is the Supreme
It is the
Himself.
Supreme Himself
Yes.
who had come here as an avatar.
Yeah, but he is the
It is
Ashwapati.
He,
Yeah.
the Supreme, who has taken this avataric birth.
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes we don't understand your question.
But basically it is He Himself. Who else can bear the burden of the desire?
Yeah.
Who else? It is He who comes here, lifts up the world desire. In other words, there is something very nice about us, something very beautiful. It will not be very strong, it will be very feeble, it will not be effective, it will not be dynamic, it will not be fruitful and all that. But there is something very sweet in us, that there is a desire in us. Please come down and do something for us. That invocation is there, that urge is there, that expectation is there, that burning fire is there in us. It wants something to come and get things done here. It is there. Of course, that has also been seated within us. But that desire is there. That desire is feeble. It is He Himself who has to come, lift it up, and take it back again to the dynamic Supreme. The silent, settled love is striving now, absorbed from the voices of the world desire. He is not free of that. Until now, he was kind of burdened with world desire. He was tied with the world desire. It was kind of changing him back, pulling him back to the world desire. Even that should go away. I should not have even that desire with me, that urge to help somebody. No. I should be only what he wants me. Maybe I am going with him for this thing. Even that should stop. A silence settled, therefore silence settled on his driving heart, absorbed the voices of the world desire. He turned to the ineffable timeless call beyond expression. A being intimate and unnameable, a wide compelling ecstasy and peace felt in himself, and all and yet ungrasped. See, he has already felt that now. The moment he has kind of disburdened himself with the word desire, he feels an intimate and nameable being very close to him. As if the word desire was kind of putting him back from that intimate and unnameable being. A wide compelling ecstasy and the compelling ecstasy and the compelling peace, you see, felt in himself and all and yet ungrasped, approached and fading from his soul's pursuit, as if forever luring him beyond. He cannot be lured beyond if he is getting burdened with world desire. World desire will cling to him and will not allow it to go to beyond. He has to even kind of give up that. Here it repeated. Far it called him still, unable to satisfy, but peaceful life. Obviously, its absence left the greatest action service. I am trying to see what does it stand for. Here,
The divine light.
Huh?
The divine light and Ananda.
Being.
No, in the context of this text, far it called him still.
Yeah, the
Now,
divine being.
the nearest grammatically it would mean being. Grammatically, he is making that being beautiful because it is indescribable, it is unnameable.
Cannot say.
It cannot be.
No. No.
It is indescribable, it is unnameable. Therefore, he is making it beautiful. It.
Ecstasy and peace. Ecstasy and peace, no?
Which one?
Because the ecstasy and peace. Approached. Who is approached and fed?
He approached faded from his soul. He
Who?
fed in himself and all yet approached being.
And the being approached and fed?
Yeah.
So it must be
A wide, intimate and a wide, compelling being fed in himself. Obviously, when he is feeling it, that's approaching. And all and yet approached and faded from his soul's pursuit. It comes and goes. Because it is ungraspable, it is unknowable. As if forever luring him beyond. Yes, beyond. Go.
But who is luring him?
Unknown. Well, I mean, this is the context that one, the unknowable.
I understood the ecstasy and the peace. Approaching and luring.
Unknowable. Being of the unknowable. Being unknowable. So what is it about? What does he say?
Knowable.
Being?
Knowable. The unknowable can be a being.
Huh?
The unknowable can be a being.
Well, it is neutral. Yeah.
Being is personal, no?
Being is personal, it's
Not
true.
unknowable.
Yeah.
This
But he says he
One being
qualifies.
has many.
why
He qualifies by saying, but he qualifies by saying
approaching and fed
unnameable.
from his soul. It means the ecstasy and the peace.
Yes.
He said no.
Being is personal, it's true. But he qualifies by saying it is unnameable.
Unknowable. So we have to widen, huh?
Yeah, the word being is a little, yeah.
So it means ecstasy and peace.
What does he translate?
No, I mean that when you said a wide, compelling ecstasy and peace, compelling ecstasy and peace,
Yeah.
felt in himself.
A being intimate and nameable, a wide, compelling ecstasy, that is it. That becomes it.
Yeah.
A wide, compelling ecstasy and peace.
Yeah, and they are approached and faded from his soul, no?
No, but it is a comma there, no. See, a being intimate and unnameable,
Name it.
approached and faded from his soul's pursuit.
Ah, the being.
Who will be wide, compelling ecstasy and felt in himself and God.
Yes, it's the same. I mean, the being also.
So being has become it in
Yeah,
that context.
it. Okay.
Therefore, that being has become it.
It's a secret being.
Yeah, well, I mean the word he has qualified by saying unnameable,
Because it's unknowable.
Yes.
unnameable,
Secret.
and he says also
We cannot.
ungrasped, wide, compelling, peace and ecstasy. That it a being approached and faded from his soul's pursuit.
Being.
But the soul is pursuing the being.
being. He is pursuing the being. Being that unknowable, unnameable.
Soul pursues the being.
Yeah. As if forever living in beyond, because it's unknowable, beyond. Near, it retreated. You feel as if it has come very close. The moment you come here, it goes back.
Yeah. We know this.
Far, it is there, but it's calling you, attracting you. Come. That is absolutely Isha Upanishad. This line.
What is it?
Isha Upanishad.
Pure Isha.
Isha Upanishad.
One unmoving that is swifter than mind, that the gods reach not. The gods reach not, for it progresses ever in front. If the gods try to approach it, it progresses. That standing passes beyond others as they run. It is still there and people are running. In that the master of life establishes order. That knows and that knows not. Tadejati, tanmejati, that knows and that knows not. That is far and the same is near. That is within all this and also is outside all this. That knows and that knows not. That is far and the same is near. That is within all this. Whatever there is already within. And that also is outside all this. Tadejati, tanmejati, tatpure, tadvantike, tadantarasya, sarvasya, tadu sarvasyasya, tajyata. See, what a powerful that is from the Isha Upanishad. Maybe about 5,000 years old.
5,000 years old.
Yeah. Near it retreated, far it thought himself. Absolute echo of that line, of that shloka of the Isha Upanishad. Well, you can call it in the language of literature that this is an echo of the Upanishadic shloka. An echo. I will rather call it not an echo, but a remembrance. We are going to remember what we have written in the Isha Upanishad. Remember what we are. These are putting in English, in Sanskrit, they are put in English for the benefit of we poor souls. Here it retreated, far it caught him still. Yes, beyond. It is endless. That is the unknowable. In other words, there are inexhaustible possibilities present in the absolute. This has come. Yet. There are inexhaustible. Therefore, it is unknowable. And it is that which Asapati as a yogi carrying the word that trying to tap. There are those inexhaustible possibilities there. He is trying to tap some of those possibilities and bring them into expression here. And therefore he is approaching her. Who can do that? Yes, that is there. You are there. Yes, you have it. Nothing to satisfy, but its delight, obviously. Its absence is the greatest actions done. His presence is the smallest seed divine. His presence made the smallest, you can strike out the seed. But if you strike off that thing, then the line will be lifting. It will be short of unfold. It will be only for an earthing. Politically, one extra syllable is required. That extra syllable comes to seed. See, its praise is made, the small sin is mine. If you don't have that sin, praise is made, the small is mine. The land is living. Now it is not for the purpose of making the line complete that you have to see. Obviously, it is not the demand of poetry that has brought seeing here. It is actually an assertion. It is not seen, it is an assertion. It is an assertion. Its presence made the smallest of the mind an assertion. Seen here is an assertion of a statement. That is the poetic technique. That is the way of language. Because it is not apparently, it is not as if, it is not probably. Yes, it is. Presence made the smallest, yes, divine. That seeing is serving the purpose of yes.
But there was another scene
Yeah, that one,
and you didn't explain it in the same way.
you want to go back to that scene?
Yeah, because really it was seen.
Yeah,
it's not
I
true.
believe it's the-
And why now it's another meaning? I
Yeah.
don't understand. Here,
Seemed far off.
it seems it's not far, but it seems far. So
Where is the scene?
here,
Hidden by its own works.
But this is
It
different.
seemed far off. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
so
This
is
is
it far or is it
It
seemed
seemed.
far?
Why
Why the other one?
It means that it is not.
This is correct.
It means that
It
it's
seems
not
far,
really.
but this is correct.
Why?
The other
How
one,
we
no.
can-
The other one, no.
Why?
It means it is not really.
No, this is correct.
Yeah, okay, but why the
It's,
other
it's
one
only
is not correct?
you think it is far.
This is
but
not the
it's
same
not
idea. No?
far.
It's
Huh?
different.
That's why.
Hidden
This is
by
my
its own-
question.
See.
Why the other one is not correct?
What it means is that you have got two negatives. Hit, seem.
Wait, again.
Huh?
Not again. Two
It is
negatives.
as if there are two negatives.
Yeah.
Hit and seem.
Ah.
Come
It
on.
is not really hidden. It looks as if it is hidden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, it is obvious. But because we are living in a cave of darkness, to us, we don't understand
Exactly.
that this is not it.
Yeah.
We think it's something else, but this is it.
Seem has a positive
Yeah.
sense. It is not probability. It is not likelihood.
Yeah, of
Now,
course.
here I understand very well that it seems far because hidden by the wall.
Because it is hidden.
But the other one also,
Reality
it
is
seems,
hidden.
it seems also small.
If you take away what is hidden, what is hiding, it doesn't seem far. It is close.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Hidden
This
by
okay.
word, it's close
This
by.
okay, I understand. Even the other
If you take
one.
away the darkness, it is right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you can see it.
This I understand.
Okay, now
The
this.
other one,
Oh.
I don't understand why it doesn't seem. Why the seem it's only superfluous.
But here, its presence made the smallest divine.
Yes. Not as if.
It does make that divine.
It is.
Otherwise, what is the presence there for? It is not putting a glass.
Okay.
But why using seem?
See, it serving the purpose of yes.
Of what?
Yes.
Serving the purpose of yes.
It is divine.
That's the way of English language.
It
It
is
is the way
divine.
of language.
Yes.
Everything is divine.
It is an
But to
assertion.
you, it doesn't look like divine.
Yeah.
It is an assertion.
To us.
Yeah.
Because to us, it looks like a table and a chair, and but why should this be divine?
It is an
Pen
assertion.
and table.
When it was there, the heart's abyss was filled.
You seem to be lily.
Well, that's all.
You are the divine manifestation.
But when the accepting deity withdrew,
No, I accept that
existence
everything is
lost
divine.
its aim in a whatever.
This is
No, it's
fantastic.
okay.
Lost its aim I mean, Srabinder is fantastic.
Existence lost.
Yeah.
Obviously, when that is not there, then what becomes? Then the whole thing becomes illusion, Maya, etc., dream, all that thing. When it is not there. But when it is there, then it really appears to us. It is the divine which gives value to what is here. It is the divine content which is present here that gives value to things here. Existence lost its aim in a He says, this is the word lost. It's true. We have forgotten what we are called.
It takes so long to remember.
If you don't admit the presence of the divine here, the world becomes an illusion, contentless. And the best thing is to walk away from here. The order of the immemorial flame, the godlike fullness of the instrument, were turned to cups of an impermanent sea. So all the climbing plays, physical, mental, vital, etc., all the spiritual gods, even higher God, he said the gods are pursuing. The gods are pursuing. It is standing there. Even the gods cannot grasp it. The gods cannot grasp it. The order of the immovable, the order means the hierarchy. Or the immovable plane, the godlike fullness of the instrument, everything appears were turned to props for an impermanent sea. So they became the support or things that transient. So this is what that is, that one is, that being is. The Tattva, the Tantriti, here it is here, it is for all that description. The whole section up to this one, you can say, is a revelatory commentary on the Isha Upanishad. All these 12 sentences are a kind of a revelatory commentary on the Isha Upanishad. So he has already seen, so to say, he has already seen the unknowable. He has understood the unknowable. He grasped, he has known the unknowable. Therefore he said, but who that mighty now, he knew not yet. Who that unknowable is, who that being is, who has created, is here is far, who is that? You will know that then. And he said, but who that mightiness not, he knew not and yet.
Exactly. So it seems.
It means that he will know. It means that he will know. He is approaching it. He is about to know it. Who that mightiness was, he knew not yet. He has to know it. He is pursuing it. He has to face it. He has to know it. But who that mightiness? He speaks of mightiness. He is not speaking of being, he is not speaking of unknowable, he is not speaking of pure, impenetrable, etc. But mightiness. It is the aspect of the power. The presence is hidden by the power. Who is the power? Who can hide the presence? Who is the mightiness? Who can conceal, keep away from us that presence? Who is that? And into that is movable. It is as if the Absolute has his window opened out for the manifestation through her. It is she who is standing. This is Satchidananda in the zone of silence, and beyond that is Absolute. Nothing can do. That Absolute has stationed her at this entry point. So if we have to really go into the unknowable, it is through her we could talk. It is she who is standing. In what? The power of expression and Absolute. It is she who is controlling everything, every action, every activity, every part of manifestation. And therefore he is wondering who is she that mightiness. So now that he has become here, she, mightiness, power. Therefore we knew not yet. She can be to some extent known. If at all you want to call it. Aditi, the Vedic Aditi. She is the power of expression of the Supreme. It is, if we have to approach the Supreme, if at all we can approach the Supreme, we will approach through her. He will tell you. So Ashwapati here, he is approaching that happiness, impalpable, yet feeling all that he is. She who is really occupying everything. It made and blotted out in million words. Yes, it creates absurd. You can hear. Made and blotted out in million words. After the first time, you can create and absorb them again back to yourself. It made. See that again, it stands for the same thing.
It. Who is it here?
It stands for the same thing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It made and blotted out in million words. In other words, Ashwapati knows that this unknowable had created many times in million words. They were reabsorbed. They were reabsorbed. They came out, they were reabsorbed.
Yeah.
Now, how does he know? I don't know.
But he knows.
He knows it.
He knows.
How does he know that there were million words and they were absorbed? If they are absorbed, how do they know?
Exactly, because he was absorbed. If he lived in one of them,
No, but
he should not know.
they don't leave any trace behind.
Exactly.
How do they know?
There's no
How do they
signboard.
know that there were million words and they were reabsorbed?
Somebody must have told him.
I don't know.
Now, where did you see that Ashwapati?
Huh?
Where did you see that Ashwapati he was creating many times more?
What he says here.
This it means
He made
it means
and
like
blotted
this.
out a million. It made and blotted out. Who sees that? He, Ashwapati.
Ah, this one. Okay.
Who is saying all that? Who is saying that?
Ah, million word it means one after the
Yes.
other. Oh, that is yes.
Yes.
But Ashwapati has this knowledge.
Yes, I
He
know.
knows
But where from has the
No,
knowledge
I
come to
know.
him?
But I was asking when in which book. I didn't realize that this sentence it means one after.
because it is Sri Aurobindo. Because this is Sri
No, but
Aurobindo.
still, see if it is
Yes, it's correct.
created and reabsorbed, then how does one know that when you are here? Well, in the absolute,
You haven't
I don't-
seen it.
In the absolute, I don't care what happens. But he is now climbing up, he is carrying the word desire, etc., from the mortal planes, etc. How does he know that the worlds were created and absorbed?
He must have seen a pre-version of Savitri.
Must be possible. Must be possible.
I don't know. Matter to transfer and impermanency. But who that materialized was, he knew not yet. Impalpable. Yet feeling all that is, it made and brought it out in millions. I am talking about this one. How does he have that knowledge?
Because he is a divine. At that moment, he was himself the divine who is created
No,
and
he is
he
carrying the word desire. He has come here.
He's on
He
earth. He's on
is
earth.
pursuing the unknowable.
Yeah, but at what time after Sri Aurobindo he touched it, he became this transcendent divine. So he knows about this. No?
No.
See, I don't know. I'm not able to understand this line. See, take it this way. The mother says, this is seventh creation.
Yeah.
There were 6 creations earlier.
Yeah, not millions.
Brilliant.
They disappeared.
Yes, that knowledge is there because it is inscribed in the story of creation, which is accessible.
What is accessible?
Which is accessible.
History of creation.
Inscribed, is present.
Pralayas are accessible.
Pralaya.
But if you are in the first world, which is absorbed, you don't know that there will be 6 or 7 more. So,
Because you are able to access that, therefore you can know. But here he says billion worlds blotted out, created and blotted out. In other words, there are some kind of archives
yeah,
where
exactly.
the knowledge is written down
Perhaps.
And Ashwapati can
Read it.
go into the archive and read all those things.
Isn't there something
The
like
archive is the unknowable.
something like the Akasha Chronic or something, where everything what has ever been created is actually archivized
In the archive is there.
Yes, maybe he could peep in there and look.
So in the archive you can go and read and access it.
Yes. I think because everything what has ever been created or was
If
ever
you have got the access to that archive, you can read the entire story.
it's called Akash Chronicles.
Archive is the unknowable. as you
Yes,
said.
but it's somewhere recorded.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is recorded. That is why I am calling archive is the unknowable.
Yeah. Yeah, if he has access to it, then
It made and brought it out a million world. Where from does he get that knowledge? I only can say that he has access to the archive, the unknowable.
perhaps, yeah.
He goes to the archive and reads it there, a story of creation. And took and lost 1,000 shades and made insane thing to me. It has come, gone.
Why did no?
Because it didn't succeed.
Why Sri Aurobindo, who attend this degree, he needs archives?
Because
he
he-
know by experience. He
he-
know by experience this.
No,
thing.
not experience, because he's timing up. He has not described that he has got that.
He's
thing
not
yet.
the avatar here.
No, I know. No, I'm not here. Not in this chapter. I mean, Sri Aurobindo, when he wrote the Savitri, when he wrote this chapter,
He knew that.
he knew already this.
Yes.
I mean, I
But
don't
how does he
speak
know
about
that? How
this
does he know, but how does he
Ashwapati
know
level.
that? Unless he has got some kind of an access there.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Unless there is something
Experience,
kind
he
of
got
a
it.
record or script available there.
But it's not that. He knew that he had this knowledge already.
He had it by
When you
himself.
read this-
No, within this what? Where from it comes?
Who did this Akashic memories? Who wrote
Who's writing it all
Who's
down?
writing, yes.
Who is the secretary there?
Now, who is the better than Sri Aurobindo
Maybe
to
the
write
divine
this?
right? Even someone who is
Yes,
writing
I
everything.
think automatic writing with the computer.
But it is somewhere in Savitri, this archive.
It's there,
It's there in Savitri.
It has to be there.
Yeah.
That is why I am calling it the archives the unknowable. It bore the guise of an indiscernible past. Okay. Or for a subtle kernel in the soul. So there you are, subtle kernel in the soul.
What is the kernel?
Memory, that knowledge that is present, deep within the soul.
Essence.
Subtle essence. Okay, let
A
me.
distant greatness, yet it huge and dim. Because it is so distant, therefore it is dim. A mystic closeness shut it sweetly in. We see sometimes a payment or a road,
Sometimes.
and seeing sometimes the old colossal shades. Because it is indescribable. A giant doubt overshadows the advance. It's a doubt because of that. Doubt across a neutral, all-supporting void, whose blankness nurse is no immortal spirit, allude to some recondite supreme, aided was by enigmatic power, aspiring and half-sinking and opposed, invincibly he ascended without pause. He is pursuing.
Yeah.
He is not leaving her.
Soaring.
He is pursuing.
Not giving up.
Across a neutral, all-supporting void, because there is nothing there. Whose blankness nurses lone immortal spirit. Yes, there has to be some meaning. Allude to some recondite supreme, he is attractive, like a magnet withdrawn, aided, forced by enigmatic power. Well, there are powers, it is supporting also, pushing you to power. Aspiring and half-sinking and opposed invincibly. He is not going to give up whatever will do. He is not going to succumb. Invincibly will ascend it without pause. Now, what is it that makes him take this kind of a journey? What is it that makes him, urges him, pushes him, go, 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 go? Because still in him, deep within him, that first desire is there. He cannot remain satisfied, content, unless that first desire gets an answer. Push. So that is the power of your desire. In spite of all these things, it is pushing up, 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 up. So if you are really sincere with the word desire, you will go to the end of things and try to see how that word desire can be fulfilled. You will go to the end of things. It is pushing him, urging him, driving him constantly across the beautiful, all supporting world. His countless thirst to know. This is important because all the thing is put in one subtle corner in the soul. There is something deep within his soul, and it is that which is subtle kernel, the divine Agni is present there in him. And the divine Agni is pushing him forward. Yes, it is actually the same Supreme who has come here and seated himself in his soul and the divine Agni, divine earth. It is that earth which is pushing him, pushing him. Across the neutral, all supporting world, whose blankness must know immortal spirit, allowed to some recondite supreme, aided, forced by enigmatic powers, puzzling power, aspiring and asking and opposed, invincibly, he ascended without power. He is ascending, and then always a silence, vague immensity brooded, without effort, beyond response, condemning finite things, considering this, guarding him within convention. Silence, vague immensity is pushing you on. Brooded, without effort, beyond response, condemning finite things. No, not this. There is something great in them. To nothing there. Guarding him within convention. So it is he who will be now pushed up. Then to ascend, here take a mighty turn. He is climbing. A mighty turn. A height was reached with nothing meant to live, but he survived. He survived. A height was reached with nothing made to live. Everything disappears. When you reach that absolute, everything disappears. A line where every hope and search must see, every hope and search must see. He is carrying the hope for the hope desire. Even that must stop. Near some intolerant bare reality. Intolerant bare reality. What a powerful phrase this one. Intolerant bare reality. That reality will not accept anything except itself. Except itself. Intolerant, bare, yes, alone, absolutely nothing. Near sun, intolerant, bare, yes, a zero, on, pregnant, tongue, scale. You approve that reality which is zero, nothing. It is that which is bring about the boundless change. Boundless, there are no boundaries, no limits. In that change, it is that reality which will not accept anything else. On it busy, birds, they are all disguises fame. And human mind must abdicate in life or die like a moth. Like a plague of goodness. So what is human mind? A moth. They will die, place. He should compel with tremendous joy. This is the moment of truth. The moment of truth. Ashwapati has arrived. He is now on a topmost height. And you decide now whether to disappear or do something for this place.
Is this the entrance to Nirvana?
No,
What is
now
this?
absolute beyond.
Non-Nirvana.
Nothing. He has now reached the topmost height. You are now, you can vanish into the absolute.
No more return.
Once you have vanished in the absolute, you have lost totally all connections with this world.
So you're losing your individuality, your personality, everything.
You are there, you can disappear totally.
You are dissolving yourself.
Or you can come back if you like.
But Nirvana is the same also. You dissolve.
In going out what is opposing the divine.
Opposing.
What is holding you back in the divine.
But you also dissolve.
What is holding you back in the divine.
But in the Nirvana,
It is going out what is holding you back.
It holds you back from the divine?
See, if you have got traces of ignorance, of death, of inconscience, if they are there, you cannot reach the absolute. You have to throw them away, the traces of inconscience. Means you have to be absolutely pure of this inconscious stuff. That is the mind. That is going out everything. Whatever you are a product of inconscience, you are computer. You are carrying that thing, you have to discard, you have to get out of it. That is nirvana. Here, the stage is not nirvana state. He is beyond nirvana now. There is nothing of inconscience in him. He has to make a choice now. What do you want? You want to come and remain the absolute? You are welcome. A moment of truth has come to Ashwapati. He has to decide. He has climbed up. Everybody is helping. Gods are helping, this thing, etc. He said, welcome. Now, on the top of this creation, he has to decide what he is for. See the story. So, see in the story of Ramayana, you can totally go out of this creation by merging yourself into the absolute.
Yeah. Sure.
Into the absolute.
Yeah.
That is the path which is chosen by Ravana. Ravana, the Asura, chose the path of going out of this creation totally, by merging himself into Rama, who is supreme. So that is the individual pralaya. Finish.
Individual pranaya.
Finish.
Is it Brahma Nirguna?
Huh?
Brahma Nirguna?
Yes. He merged himself into Rama. Finish.
Yeah. And he doesn't exist
Supreme.
anymore.
He merged himself into Supreme. So he does not want to come back into creation in any way at all.
Unmanifested.
That is his choice.
He goes into the unmanifest.
Whatever it is, he says, now I have done with, I don't want
I'm
to
done with it.
and
Finished.
go through all this, whatever it is. Maybe I will have wonderful things, discuss it, but I don't want all that.
No more ice cream.
He is now absolutely determined to remain in the Supreme forever.
He chose to come back.
Whatever the state that he is.
He chose to come back.
So
He doesn't
Ashwapati has
remember.
now reached that stage. A tremendous choice he has to make. Should compel. He has to make a choice now. Mister, whether you want to go into the absolute and forget about this creation, manifestation, or you have something else to do. All he had been, and all towards which he drew, must now be left behind. He has to give up everything, all that. He was carried over the sand. He has to forget about all that. Or else transform into a self of that which has no name. That is the choice he has to make. Tremendous choice is between these two. All he had been and all towards which he grew must now be left behind. Forget about all that things. Forget about all that. Or transform all that into a self of that which has no name. He has to make a choice either to disappear or to transform what is. So Ashwatthati remembers why he has come here for. He has not come here to disappear into the Supreme. He knows that he is after the Supreme and he has not taken his birth to again disappear to the Supreme. He has come here to do some work for his creation. But he has to be aware now he is standing on that dizzy height. Their reality is how he is facing. That their reality will not accept anything at all. Yes, you can go and merge with that. Plunge in the ocean and disappear into the ocean. But then if you want to go back to the beaches, the shore, the towns, that won't do. All he had and all towards which he grew must now be left behind. This is a tremendous choice, you see. My attachment, my longing, etc. for this reason. Do I forget that and disappear? Or I can do something for this. Hello! And fronting the intangible force, fronting the intangible force, that mightiness, is fronting that mightiness, which offer nothing in the grasp of thought, his spirit, face, the adventure, the image, abandoned to the worlds of form, is proud, a fruitful, worldwide ignorance founded there. Obviously, that ignorance was there, it was fruitful, it did produce some result, it carried him all the way up there, but then it got taken. God's long, far-circling journey touched the close. The thought cannot go beyond that. And ineffective path the actor will. So because the will from the thought, not the desire to do things. The single modes of being and no more. The structures, nations, bills, collapsing fail. They have to fail. Nations, whatever has been built by influence of the nation, that unawareness, their structure has to fail. And even the spirit that holds the universe faded in useless insufficiency. What language is it? Faded in useless insufficiency. Even the spirit's luminosity is insufficient.